Here we are. Can everyone just fucking die because I don't like anyone? Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm just very quickly gonna introduce to you what I'm gonna be vlogging about in this reading vlog, which is Bunny by Mona Awad. So basically this tells the story of a bunch of girls in a clique. I think it's in college. Yeah, it happens in university and they all call each other Bunny, and it sounds very similar to the way Heathers worked, like the movie if you've seen it. And there's a new girl that just started, I guess, at the university, and she gets invited to be part of this gang of girls and to be one of the bunnies. Apparently this is horror and it becomes super freaking weird quite quickly, and people who have reviewed it usually leave a review that basically says, what the fuck did I just read? So I'm very excited to delve into it and figure out what is going on and just be as confused as everyone else. So the reason why I'm reading this book is because we're doing a buddy read with a couple of friends, which I think I'm calling a buddy read, but technically it has kind of become a book club because we've decided on a book we're going to be reading in November, so which is this one. In December we're going to be reading The Invisible Life of Eddie LaRue because we all wanted to read that one as well, and then we're going to pick another book for January. So I guess it's technically a mini book club that we're doing at the moment. I'm super excited to be reading this and to be able to share my thoughts along the way with my friends. So it's my friends Leanne and Becky, and we're going to be doing like a little Zoom at the end, I guess, where we talk about our thoughts about the book. And while we read it, I guess if we fall around the same chapters and we have some quick thoughts to share, but not, you know, overwhelmingly big thoughts or anything too complex or too well thought out, because we want to keep that for the Zoom. We're also going to be sharing those on Marco Polo, which is like an app where you can basically send quick video messages to your friends, and just when they're there they can see the video message. If they're not there, then they can just pick it up later, and it's literally like a text message but video format, so they can actually watch you live while you're filming it. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of what I'm going to be doing during this reading vlog. So I'm going to be reading Bunny, and I know for a fact that both my friends have already started the very first chapter and that's it. So I think I'm probably going to read the first chapter today and then give myself the whole week to read it, because I've got a couple of other books that I want to be reading at the same time. But it's only a 300 pages long book, so I think it'll be quite fast and easy to read. I just don't know about the weirdness yet, but I guess we'll discover it together. So we'll see. Friends all reached part 2 in Bunny, which is about halfway through, and boy do I have some thoughts. First of all, it's going to be really hard to speak about this book without giving any spoilers, so I'm going to do my best to just talk about everything else but what actually happens in the book. So for instance, the main character, I don't like her. I don't like what kind of person she is. I don't like her attitude towards the bunnies, but also I just feel like she's that kind of person who really thinks she's better than everyone else while still really hoping that everyone else is going to accept her. And the way she's a little bit pathetic like that is just, I can't deal with it. Like, I'm okay reading from her point of view, but I'm in no way rooting for her. Like, if something bad happens to her, or if at any point the bunnies turn on her, I don't think I'm going to be that upset about it. Her best friend, Ava, just gives me the same unlikable vibes, but for different reasons. While Samantha, the main character, I find unlikable because she's kind of whiny and just complains a lot and just feels very sorry for herself, but at the same time she still thinks she's better than the bunnies. There's like moments and glimpses into her psyche where you can see that she's like clearly judging them and clearly saying things about how they're acting and how they're privileged and rich and everything that shows that she thinks she is better than them. But at the same time she sounds and seems so desperate for their attention, their acceptance, to be in their little group. She sounds so jealous for sure. But on the other hand, Ava doesn't sound like she would want to be part of that group at all. Ava sounds to me like that person who, because I feel like we all know someone like that, or we've all met someone like that, who really generally thinks that she is also better than everyone else and will continuously act that way. She doesn't actually want to be part of the group. She wants to set her differences even stronger and just show them off and show that she is not like other people. And she's a little bit that girl that I imagine would actually love a book or write a book about a main character who's not like other girls. Like, she feels like that to me. Like, she's never gonna want to be part of the groups, the society that she's in. She doesn't want to be a part of it, and she's going to set herself apart, especially in the way she dresses and things like that. But that's not to say I'm not enjoying this book. I feel like the main reason I'm really enjoying it is actually because I'm buddy reading it with friends, and we're talking about it through Marco Polo, sending each other messages. So because of that, at some point when we were reaching towards the end, we only had one chapter to read. We were really chatting about it, and then we're waiting for each other to reach that point so we could like chat some more about it and what happened. And I think that was the best part about it. It was generally like we were meeting up in a book club, real life, and obviously we can't do that due to the pandemic, but the fact that we're able to do that through messages and video messages is just great. So that's the best experience about this book. But I have to admit that I just don't think it would be my kind of book, especially the first 100 pages or so. Probably not my vibe normally, and I'm not sure how much I would be enjoying it on my own. But I do like the twist and like what happens and the slow burn towards it, the fact that you don't know what's going on. There's some really weird shit going on, and definitely supernatural type of weird shit. So I'm not gonna pretend like this isn't meant to be a horror supernatural style book. It's not, you know, a thriller or anything like that. It's more on the weird vibes, things that don't happen in real life type of thing. Again, very hard to talk about it without giving any spoilers. So I think what I can say as well is our first reaction, one of the few things that we talked about with my friends when we reached that halfway point, was the fashion in it. The fashion is like extraordinary. There's so many mentions of weird dresses in there. Like at some point she's about to wear, Samantha is given a dress by one of the bunnies that is basically has little cut off head, decapitated heads of a woman, and she's like, oh, they're Marie Antoinette's. By the way, if you're looking for anything in terms of fashion that would be similar to what these girls are wearing in Bunny, I would definitely recommend checking blackmilkclothing.com. This is absolutely not sponsored. Black Milk is like a clothing brand in Australia, I think. I've ordered one thing from them once, and the customs to pay, because I live in the UK, were just, yeah, very high. And I don't really want to order from them again, but they have so many items of clothing that really make me think of what the bunnies are wearing. So it just really fits that vibe for sure. There's a certain pretentiousness to this book as well that I think is very dark academia in general, and just is in that genre. Every single book that I've read of that genre has that pretentiousness, so I don't think it's something I can complain about as in, oh, I don't like that the author did that. I think the author did that on purpose. But I just don't think it's the type of book that I enjoy, probably because of that, partially because of that. I think the writing style is very interesting because on the one hand, it has that pretentiousness, and I'm not sure how much I like it, but it does flow quite easily. It is a quick read. It feels like a shorter book than I think it is, and I think potentially that's thanks to the writing. So I don't dislike it. I do think that it works in this case, and there's a little bit of that writing style that is also woven into Samantha's thoughts. So every now and then you get those thoughts in italics where she's thinking this person or that person, is saying this sentence, but they're not. It's just in her head. She's just imagining those people responding. She's thinking like, oh, and then in this situation, they would say this. And then you have in italics the sentence that she really thinks that person would say. And every now and then you have the actual sentence spoken out loud by a character. So it kind of feels like, is Samantha like an unreliable narrator? It's hard to say, but it does make you wonder. It is now Sunday the 15th of November and I have finished Bunny. So I rated it 3 stars. Here's why. Again, and as usual with this book, it's going to be kind of a tough one to talk about without giving spoilers, so I'm going to do my very best. But I'm going to have to be very vague in my explanations and my descriptions and what I thought of what, because you can't say anything about this book past the first 100 pages without it being a spoiler, pretty much. So let's start with what I liked. I liked that the writing style was so beautiful at times and very confusing at others. I liked how it really represented whatever was happening in what I think was in the consciousness and the mind of the main character, and her descriptions and the way she talked about things completely changed depending on how she was, because there are moments where she's very clearly on some sort of drugs. I'm not gonna give any more information than that. And you really feel the difference, and the writing style changes drastically, and it's very interesting. I thought that was really well done. I also liked the character of Jonah. There's one character in this book who is this guy that Samantha meets, and he's basically in the poets class, and he's kind of a guy who used to be fucked up all the time and did drugs and everything, and then kind of like, I don't think he is like that anymore, but he's got a lot of life experience, I want to say, and passionate about books, and just says at several points in the book, oh, I can't go into a bookshop because I'll just buy everything and then be poor, which I believe that everyone reading in general can relate to and probably thought that was very relatable. So yeah, he was just the only character that I generally was rooting for and was like, you better be okay by the end of this book because I really like you. And he was the only one basically that I was like, wow, you're the only likable person here, so really, please don't die or anything like that. He's not a huge part of the plot either, he's not a huge part of the book, but he's there at several moments. And yeah, I think he's one of the aspects of the book that I did like, that we had that character almost as a reference point to what was normal and what was really happening, what was truth and reality and what wasn't. And I think that's also something that the book does really well, is like blur the boundaries between reality and whatever the fuck else. I gotta say that's the only other thing I really liked about reading this book, was the fact that I was with my friends at the same time and that we kind of reached the same points in the book around the same time as well. And it was just such a fun experience just to be able to share all the thoughts we had on it around the same time, and guesses as well, because there are several mysteries happening, there's several things that you just don't understand and you're like, how is that going to get solved? What I didn't like, and the reason I gave this book 3 stars, I thought it was quite slow and boring at first, and then when things start happening, I really liked those parts, but the fact that it was because of blurred lines, you know, between reality and what's not real, I didn't partly love that, because at the end of the day, it feels a lot of times that the main, you know, narrator, the main character, Samantha, is an unreliable narrator, and I just didn't love the fact that I didn't know if what she was experiencing was real, what she was telling us was real or not. Because frankly, if what she saw and did was real, that would be a much cooler story than if it's not. So the fact that I couldn't be sure of it, and that by the end you're kind of still left with some questions and you're like, So what did really happen? And the confusion and the fact that you never really know what is going on. I didn't love that. And I guess that's another thing I didn't love about it, is the ending to me left me with more questions and just was a little bit too open-ended. I almost wish like there was an epilogue from someone else's point of view than Samantha's, so that we could understand what was really happening, because I still don't know what did happen. You know what, like when you're reading a book with an unlikable main character followed by an unlikable best friend, followed by a bunch of unlikable, I don't know if they're considered antagonists or what, you know, like the bunnies. And then, midway through the book, or like even further than that, I can't remember exactly when, quite late in the book, you introduced yet another character that is unlikable yet again. You're kind of like, well, here we are, can everyone just fucking die because I don't like anyone? So yeah, that's kind of like how I feel about this book. It's just, I feel meh about it. I feel like it was okay, you know, I don't feel transcended by the experience. I don't feel like I would have missed out on something if I hadn't read it, but I'm glad I did read it because I really wanted to. I was, you know, definitely influenced by BookTube and Bookstagram and all of that, and I've seen this book everywhere, so I really wanted to read it. But a part of me feels like if it had been so much more like Heathers or Scream Queen, all of those other things that I kind of assimilated it with, I would have loved it so much more. The fact that it felt so much more like, oh, it's blurred line with reality and kind of dreamlike and you don't know what's happened really. The fact that it was so much more vague and open-ended is what I really just didn't like about it. That's it. I'm gonna have my chat later this afternoon with my friends, and then I guess I will let you know if there's anything else that I feel about this book or that I want to talk about concerning this book without giving any spoilers once again. So yeah, I will see you guys later. Ooh, bunnies!
Oh, bunnies. Very appropriate.
Yeah, how much did you guys rate it in the end?
I haven't decided.
Yeah,
I don't really know.
I rated it 3 stars. I didn't like the ending.
Yeah, I was like, I think to start with, I was like thinking it would be a 4-star read, and I really enjoyed it. But
as you went on,
yeah, I'm kind of disappointed in the ending, I think, and
I'm more confused than anything. To be fair, the one thing that surprised me the most at the end was the fact that she fucking graduated.
how did any of them graduate? Did you read half of the shit they wrote? Like,
also, the most unbelievable part I found, it was the fact that the girls were in some sort of elite writing course when they wore like the way they spoke. I was like, there's no way these are elite writers.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to be honest. Like, for most of the book, I was just so distracted by what they were wearing and the descriptions of what they were wearing.
Yeah.
That I have no idea what happened.
But the fact that you don't fucking know at any time, it's always like blurred lines between reality and dream. I didn't like that part, basically.
Yeah.
She's on drugs for so much of it. It's like,
and
I think that's the problem with her being such an like unreliable narrator as well, is that you don't trust her at all. So like you don't, I don't know, by the end I felt like I didn't really care what was happening to her.
I don't know. I'm left more confused than like happy by the ending.
I quite enjoyed reading it though, but I feel like I enjoyed reading it more because we read it at the same time.
Yeah.
Like if I'd read it on my own, I don't think
Same.
I think I would have still enjoyed it, but I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much.
I think when we got to the climax bit in the middle, when we were all like, oh my god, what's happening?
Yeah.
We were enjoying it.
Yeah.
And then it kind of got a bit boring for a little bit, and then I guess got exciting again, but then didn't have a satisfying ending.
I feel like the second part, after that moment, after that climax, just a lot of it was useless and could have been cut out of the book, and it wouldn't have changed anything to the story. And that kind of annoyed me, that I was just feeling like I was reading useless bits of the book.
Yeah, I wanted more of her as a bunny cult member.
Yeah. Do you know what? That first chapter when like in part 2, when she starts speaking in like you don't even know who she's talking to anymore, because they're like, oh, Bunny
Yeah.
does this, and then Bunny says that, and we, instead of like me. Like she's talking in this weird cultish way. I really enjoyed that. And I was like, do you know what? If the entire second part is written that way, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. It was also very well written like that, because I
Yeah.
liked how she used the girls' names, the nicknames for the girls names, and then just the name Bunny
Yeah.
to like show how far into the bunny world she was.
Yeah.
Because
And
when
then
she was
back
in the bunny
out.
world, everyone was bunny, everything was bunny, love you, bunny. But when she was only partially in it, she was still referring to them as their names. And when she was judging them, she was referring to them as like Cupcake Girl and stuff like that.
Creepy doll and all that. Yeah. But
At
the
first,
thing
there's
is,
too many nicknames for everyone, but then
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, I get what she's doing with these.
I almost feel like it would have benefited from like a little, glossary or something, and then at the end just a reference being like, Vignette is Victoria and it's that one. And
So
just
what you
goes-
do is you think of Scream Queens and you attach one of the names to one, because every time I read about Kira, I was like, oh, that's Ariana Grande, because I had decided she was Ariana Grande.
Right.
And that makes sense, yeah.
Also, for having so much sexual content in the book, there was no sex.
No one's having sex.
But there was
Yeah.
no actual like description of sex. Like there was like, it was alluded to that people were having sex, but there was nothing
Yeah.
explicit. And I feel like it was quite dark in other ways. So
Yeah.
maybe it peaked too early, because I feel like that bit that we all reached at the same time was
I
like
think it peaked too early.
Yeah.
really good.
But I also agree with you, Becky, that I think the main reason I enjoyed it was really just because we were reading it together at the same time.
It's definitely an interesting book to read with other people.
Yeah. I feel like I would probably have DNF'd it if I hadn't been reading it with you guys, because it would have been really shitty not to be able to share any of the weird stuff that is happening in it with anyone. Hey guys, I decided to stop my replay of the Zoom footage here, and by footage I mean, the sound, the audio, and a bunch of images of bunnies, because essentially everything that was left that I couldn't show you guys in that replay was pretty much spoilers or completely irrelevant to the actual book. So I'm finishing this video on this point, which was that essentially this experience was great because I was experiencing it with my friends and because we were able to talk about it, which I think was the point of doing a buddy read. And regardless of the book that you pick, I feel like when you do a buddy read, it's just so much more good fun. And I definitely maintain what I said there, which is that I think if I had been reading it on my own, I may have DNF'd the book, because I just don't think it's my style, it's not my genre, it's not something I particularly enjoy. But I do think it is for people out there. It's definitely, if you love something that's super weird, super strange, a bit of horror, you don't really know what's going on, there's blurred lines between reality and, whatever else, then that book is for you. I particularly like to know where I'm standing with a book, to have a proper ending, a proper conclusion, and things that really, make you feel grounded. And that's just not the type of book that is. So it's just not for me, that's all. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, consider subscribing, ring the bell, all of that jazz, and I will see you guys next time.